The American people have been appalled at Chris Christie for his unfortunate recent bridge scandal revolving the George Washington Bridge. He had closed the lane and many had just been appalled. However, there may be another reason and factor as to why the American people are just so outraged, and this has been affirmed on an article published by The Onion, dated February 5th of 2014. Now, what this article states is that the American people are outraged at Chris Christie botching an easy cover-up, evidently with the American people trying to idolize a president who can lie. We're ultimately seeing that Chris Christie's honesty just isn't put on a pedestal as it once was. Therefore, with the new face of politics clearly being shown due to the scandal, many are scared that this is ultimately going to lead to the demise of any type of political ambitions that Chris Christie once had. And ultimately, with Chris Christie lying to the American people in a way that was quite obvious, it's clear that the American people may not be buying his ticket after all. However, there have been glimmers of hope. And therefore, with the fate of the American political society, or the political system, hanging in the balance, it's important for us to ask ourselves today's question. Has Chris Christie lost his shot at the presidency? And the answer to this question is, fortunately for Chris Christie, no, for three clear reasons. First, because Chris Christie has the backing of the business community. Secondly, due to the fact that many politicians just aren't getting the scrutiny that they once did. And finally, due to the fact that Chris Christie brings a new factor into the political arena. So first, what we have to look to is Chris Christie and his backing coming from the business community. An article published by The Economist, dated January of 2014, elaborates that Chris Christie has the backing of the business community, and this could be the weapon of mass destruction for many of his competitors. Indeed, the article goes on to elaborate that Chris Christie having the backing of the business community would be in his best interest due to the fact that he could ultimately have the funding as well as the super PACs in his favor. Indeed, an article published by the Washington Post, dated February 1st of 2014, goes on to elaborate that Chris Christie having the backing of the business community is solely because of the fact that he's been passing legislation in favor of high-end CEOs and businesses altogether. Therefore, with Chris Christie favoring the business community, he's going to get a favor in return, that is, their support. And with these businesses being able to support him through means of super PACs, which are advertisements that are being sent out by private sector entities, such as big-end CEOs, we're clearly seeing it in his best interest. Therefore, we're going to see that the business community is going to outweigh the recent scandal and ultimately regain his ability to gain the presidency once again. Moreover, what we have to take into consideration is the fact that politicians just aren't getting the scrutiny that they once did. Indeed, an article published by The Hill, dated May 17th, 2013, goes on to elaborate that a main reason why many politicians just haven't been getting the scrutiny that they once did is because instead of getting scrutiny, they're getting sympathy. Indeed, both Anthony Weiner as well as Bill Clinton had their political ambitions fostered due to the fact that many of their supporters had been sympathetic towards their cause, saying that they're not superhuman, and thus rationalizing their situation. Many American people had ultimately seen a new face of politics. Thus, we can clearly see that this would work in the favor of we're clearly going to see it working in the favor of Chris Christie due to the fact that the recent bridge scandal may be overlooked by competitors as well as the people of America themselves. Therefore, we can clearly see that the presidency has not been jeopardized due to this recent bridge scandal because ultimately of a deteriorating sense of scrutiny in the electoral process. Now finally, what we have to recognize is that Chris Christie brings a new factor into the electoral process, that is, mediation. Indeed, an article published by the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, dated just last month, goes on to elaborate that peace in the United States has ultimately been seeing itself deteriorating. Now, this diminishing presence of quote-unquote peace has been brought about because of a lack of bipartisanship. Now, the article goes on to talk about domestic politics, which may not be in its best favor, but anyway, we can clearly see that Democrats and Republicans alike have not seen eye to eye, and with a candidate of Republican status holding the Democratic ideals, it will be in his best interest in the long term to run for the presidency. Moreover, according to an article published by Politico, dated May 23rd of 2013, goes on to elaborate that Chris Christie can get away with almost anything, for two clear reasons. One, Democrats and Republicans just love him, and two, because they view him as a crazy old man who just says whatever's on his mind. Evidently, with this new face we're ultimately seeing of Chris Christie, many are just idolizing him. Therefore, this bridge scandal, although it may seem large in appearance, we're ultimately seeing that its demeanor may not be as critical as many are believing. Therefore, when re-examining today's question, has Chris Christie lost his shot at the presidency, we can clearly see that the answer to this question is no, as previously discussed, for three clear reasons. First, because he is the backing of the business community. Secondly, due to the fact that politicians just aren't getting the scrutiny that they once did. And finally, due to the fact that Chris Christie brings a new factor into the political arena. So, although Chris Christie may be scrutinized today for being an honest person, the American people may overlook this just after all.